dịch thuật cũng như là có nhiều cơ hội có thể tiếp xúc và trao đổi với các đối tác khách hàng đến từ Thái Lan, Singapore, Nhật Bản, Lào và Campuchia. Mong rằng từ sự kiện này, cộng đồng sẽ hiểu hơn và đánh giá đúng giá trị của ngành dịch thuật trong giai đoạn hội nhập và phát triển kinh tế hiện nay. Expertran toàn cầu hân hạnh cùng các nhà tài trợ dịch thuật như là Dịch thuật Ngọc Minh, Tập đoàn APEC Việt Nam và Woodby là đồng hành cùng câu lạc bộ biên phiên dịch Việt Nam, VATI và Hiệp hội Dịch thuật châu Á tổ chức sự kiện Translator 2015. Chúc hội thảo thành công tốt đẹp và hy vọng rằng chúng tôi tiếp tục được đồng hành cùng câu lạc bộ trong những sự kiện sắp tới. Xin trân trọng cảm ơn.
Thank you very much.
Kính thưa quý vị, câu lạc bộ Dịch thuật Việt Nam VATI được thành lập và có những hoạt động ý nghĩa thiết thực là nhờ sự giúp đỡ của các nhà tài trợ. Và nhân sự kiện ngày hôm nay, VATI bày tỏ lòng biết ơn sâu sắc với các nhà tài trợ và mong rằng trong tương lai các nhà tài trợ sẽ tiếp tục sự đồng hành cùng VATI, góp phần vào mục tiêu xây dựng cộng đồng dịch thuật Việt Nam đoàn kết và tương trợ.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam Association of Translation Industry (VATI) has been established with the significant help of sponsors. Today, VATI would like to express deep thanks to the sponsors and hope to continually receive the support from the sponsors in the future in order to build up the translation industry of solidarity and mutual assistance.
Ngày hôm nay, câu lạc bộ Dịch thuật Việt Nam trân trọng trao giấy chứng nhận cho các nhà tài trợ. Ban tổ chức kính mời ông Ngô Quang Xuân, Chủ tịch danh dự câu lạc bộ Biên phiên dịch Việt Nam, nguyên đại sứ Việt Nam tại Liên Hợp Quốc, nguyên phó chủ tịch Ủy ban Đối ngoại của Quốc hội, và ông Đinh Khắc Tuấn, Chủ tịch câu lạc bộ Biên phiên dịch Việt Nam, giám đốc điều hành công ty cổ phần Expertran toàn cầu lên sân khấu để trao chứng nhận cho các nhà tài trợ. Xin trân trọng kính mời ông.
On this occasion, with high respect, VATI awards sponsorship certificates to sponsors. I'd like to invite to the stage Mr. Ngô Quang Xuân, Honorary President of VATI, Vietnam former Ambassador to the United Nations, Mr. Đinh Khắc Tuấn, President of Vietnam Association of Translation Industry, to go to stage and award sponsorship certificates.
Ban tổ chức trân trọng kính mời đại diện của các nhà tài trợ lên sân khấu. Ông Phan Đức Tâm, trưởng phòng marketing, nhà tài trợ vàng công ty cổ phần Expertran toàn cầu.
I would now like to invite to the stage the representative of the sponsors, the gold sponsor, Expertran Global Language Solution, Mr. Phan Đức Tâm, Head of Marketing.
Trân trọng kính mời ông Trịnh Công Minh, nhà tài trợ đồng công ty Dịch thuật Ngọc Minh, giám đốc điều hành. Xin trân trọng kính mời ông.
The bronze sponsor, Ngọc Minh Translation Company, Mr. Trịnh Công Minh, CEO of Ngọc Minh Company.
Xin trân trọng kính mời nhà tài trợ đồng Tập đoàn APEC Việt Nam, ông Lại Hoài Nam, giám đốc điều hành.
The bronze sponsor, the APEC Group Vietnam, Mr. Lại Hoài Nam, CEO of APEC Group Vietnam.
Xin trân trọng kính mời nhà tài trợ đồng đại diện công ty Woodby Việt Nam, ông Nguyễn Đặng Huy Quốc.
And the bronze sponsor, Woodby Company Vietnam, Mr. Nguyễn Đặng Huy Quốc.
Ông Đinh Khắc Tuấn và chúc mừng các nhà tài trợ. Sau đây tôi xin kính mời nhà đại diện tài trợ. Vâng, xin cảm ơn ông Ngô Quang Xuân, ông Đinh Khắc Tuấn. Và chúng ta hãy nổ một tràng pháo tay thật lớn chúc mừng cho các nhà tài trợ.
Great thanks to Mr. Ngô Quang Xuân and Mr. Đinh Khắc Tuấn.
Nội Nội dung tiếp theo sau đây sẽ là phần tham luận.
And the next part is presentations.
Tham luận đầu tiên của hội thảo ngày hôm nay đó là ngành biên phiên dịch dưới góc nhìn Singapore qua phần trình bày của ông Nixon Chung, Giám đốc điều hành công ty Lingual Technology International, thành viên thành lập Global Communication Business Group và thành viên Hiệp hội Dịch thuật châu Á AATI.
The first presentation, translation from the viewpoint of Singapore. Please welcome Mr. Nixon Chen, CEO of Lingual Technology International and member of Association of Asian Translation Industry.
So let me see. It's always a hard act to follow after you have a wonderful singer that belted out a beautiful song and after the speech from Mr. Ngor. But I'll try my best to not bore you in this 10 to 15 minutes. So let me begin with my little talk. So who is Nixon Chen? Who the hell is he? Why is he invited to speak to you about Singapore's perspective of translation and interpretation? Is he qualified enough? Look at him, he must be a crazy guy, right? No, actually I have a more respectable picture. Okay, so something about me. My name is Nixon Chen and I represent Lingual Technology International, a member of GCBG, Global Communication Business Group. Something about my company, just a brief one, and my associates. We were founded in 1996 in Singapore by me, and we are one of the longest serving localization and translation company in Singapore. We are a multi-language vendor, and recently we've just started a branch office in Bangkok, Thailand, and we adhere to EN 15038 European standards for translation processes. And we are also part of this Global Communication Business Group, which is represented in Singapore, Germany, UK, New Zealand, and Korea. All in all, we're supported by more than 200 full-time staffs globally, and we have a pool of 5,000 active linguists working with us. And our annual group revenue is more than $20 million per year. But the thing is that, what is $20 million compared to a lot of big companies like SDL or Lionbridge? There's always stealing our clients, right? So, but anyway, that is why we need to band together so that we can protect ourselves, so that we can take care of our own interests, and well, maybe fight out some competition along the way. So anyway, now about Singapore. How much do you all know about Singapore? Except that we are a very, very small little country. We are called the little red dot. What's a little red dot? A little red dot is a speck of dust. It's nothing, right? But yet Singapore has managed to do quite a number of things that has been shocking the world. I mean, we always try to be number one in this, number one in that, okay? But just take a look at Singapore. We are multicultural. We are formed by majority Chinese. We have Malays, we have Indians, we have Eurasians, and then we have the other races. We are multilingual because we speak different languages. We are, our first language, well, I'm educated in English. I have learned my mother tongue, which is Chinese. And I also speak my own dialect at home. And because of influences from all the different areas, I also speak other dialects. And now, because of my Bangkok office, I also speak a little bit of Thai. So, Sawadee Khap. And Singapore is like multi-everything. So our official language, you think it's English, but it is more than just English. We have 4 official languages: English, Malay, Chinese, and Tamil. And you do not, maybe a lot of you do not know, but our national language is Malay. Our national language is not English, it's not Chinese. And our working language is English. So if you go to any government agencies in Singapore, most likely you'll be using English. So, something to talk about our multi-language education. English, like I said just now, is our first language. We have to study a second language, which is our mother tongue. So if you're Chinese, you study Chinese. If you're Malay, you study Malay. And if you're other races, you can choose to study other languages too. So, this builds the foundation for plurilingualism. Plurilingualism, multilingualism, so many languages you know. So, And because we are more proficient in our two languages, some of us can learn a third language, which is very, very helpful. It is very common that some Singaporeans, when they move on to college level, they may be taking Japanese, German, French, or even other languages. So now this, I'm punning here, harping on Singapore. Singapore is always seen as the first landing point for Asia for a lot of Westerners. So we are always called the beginners for Asia. So if you're not very sure about Asia, you do not know whether you like Asia or not, whether you can take the food, whether you can take all these people that's in Asia, you try Singapore first. Because in Singapore, when you step into Singapore, you get exposed to all the different Asian people, but yet you still have the modern facility, the modern comforts of life. So you won't be too shocked. And if you really like it, if you really like Asia, then you can start moving north towards Malaysia, towards Thailand, towards Vietnam, towards Cambodia, towards lots of countries in Asia. And then you will know the great difference. Singapore is also a hub for the region as well as for the world. So we are a financial hub, we're a business hub, we're a logistic hub, medical hub, education hub. Every single damn hub you can think about, we try to be one. And amazingly, we're quite successful in doing that, because a lot of times, most of the things will go through Singapore and then going to the rest of Asia. And now, because Singapore is a hub with so many people coming together, so you have people of different cultural background, speaking different languages, all coming together in one place. So what happened is that this automatically gives rise to, well, the demand for translation and interpretation, right? Wow, yay, we're also happy. Right, sounds very rosy, doesn't it? However, in reality, it's not like that. As a translation company, or as a person that's been in this industry for since 1990, actually, well, I've been in this industry since 1994. So you can calculate my age. I'm quite old already. So I have seen quite a lot. So who actually buys our services? I think it's the same. Government agencies buy your services. So you try very hard to sell it to them at very cheap rate, right? Very cheap. And then private sectors will buy from you. Individuals will buy from you. Yeah, they'll come to you with their birth cert, marriage cert, divorce cert, death cert, whatever cert. And their diplomas coming to you for all sorts of translation services. And of course others. I'm sure all you all seated here have got lots of clients that's from overseas, not necessarily just from your country itself. So, with all these buyers, do they know what they're buying? Well, my answer is always yes and no. I think you guys would agree with me that some people knows what they're buying. Some people knows a lot, they ask many questions, and they're almost like working in the same industry as you. And there's another group that doesn't know anything at all. They just want it cheap, right? So, and the majority of them, I would say no, they don't know what they're buying. They just know that they need something to be translated into another language, and they want it fast, they want it cheap. So, translation is always a last-minute decision. It will never be in their budget. They will never plan for, let's say, the forecast for the next quarter. I have $1 million to spend on translation. No. They have $1 million to spend on advertising, $1 million to spend on clothing, $1 million to spend on perfume, but nothing on translation. So when finally the boss says, I want to sell to China, what am I going to do? China does not accept Vietnamese literature. So I have to translate it into Chinese. Where am I going to find the money? I can't find the money anywhere. So what they do is that they press on people like us to give them very, very cheap translation. Not budgeted for, like I said. And then we are always seen as a non-essential service. We are like, we're like salt. We're like pepper. We're not the main chicken. We're not the vegetable. So if we don't have salt, we use some other thing, maybe fish sauce. You know? But that is totally wrong. And The worst thing is, for you people who are representative of a translation company, you know that our work is always associated with freelance work, with freelance pricing. So how can we sell up? They're always very price sensitive. Every time talking about your prices being too high. This is what we are experiencing in Singapore. I am sure I'm also speaking for you guys. We are all facing the same problem. So, do they care? Do they really care? Well, they only care about the quality of the translation only when there's a negative feedback. When some Tom, Dick or Harry outside pick up their user manual and say that you have just translated something very wrong, very stupid, and then the CEO will say, you better do something about it. Only when the feedback negatively affects their reputation, only when it adversely affects their chance of business, this is when they really care, when misfortune arises. Let's say, for example, we translated something very wrongly, and then it resulted in one of their machine operators' arm being chopped off because the whole translation's been done wrongly. So that's where all these things will happen. So in Singapore, are there any government policy in place that is helping us or not helping us? Well, many years back, actually, what I've presented so far actually tells you that nobody actually cares for translation until they need it. So the same case happens in Singapore, only when there were several embarrassing translation errors that started to appear in our tourism sites, in our tourism literature. One very famous one. We have the Hungry Ghost Festival, which happens in the lunar month, the 7th lunar month, the middle of the 7th lunar month. But when they translated it, they call it the Hungarian Festival. So you think that all this will help. In reality, I was saying just now already, the National Translation Committees has Chinese, Malay and Tamil panels. But the government's emphasis seems to be on Chinese. They always want to talk about translation into Chinese for the Chinese market. I always have this question. If we are going to be translating for the China market, I know all of you seated down here always talk about using natives for translation. Natives who are based in their home country. That's how you brand yourself. So, with Chinese translators offering translation at such a low rate, can we compete with them? With Chinese translators having Chinese as their mother tongue, can we be better than them? No, we can't. So how about the other languages? Even if we can do Chinese very well, how about the other languages? If we want to be a translation hub, are we going to be just offering Chinese, Malay, Tamil? How about Vietnamese? How about Thai? How about Cambodian? How about Myanmese? How about the European languages? So you can't call yourself a hub if you're only offering 3 languages. So are we heading the right direction? Can we do it better than the native speakers? Are we referencing other standards in the world? Are we at all? And then, apart from these translation standards, right? How about the translation process? Are we taking care of it? Are they even considering this translation process as a standard? So, with all these problems being raised, what are the private sectors doing? Private sectors meaning people like you and me. What are we doing? Well, unfortunately, we all do the monkey see, monkey do. Okay? So if I see expert trends doing something very, very wonderful and their sales went up by 100%, I will follow them. I'll imitate what they're trying to do. Right? We are just mimicking successful companies, translation companies, because they are making money. Right? And making money to us suddenly becomes very, very important. Have we forgotten about standards? Yes, most of the time. So, who are they? Who are these people in the private sector? I think you should know. Freelancers, LSPs, the LSPs wannabes. I think, to me, ladies and gentlemen, these are the most irritating ones. Okay, they have got no language background. They are most probably design companies. They are most probably website design companies, and they pretend to be LSP, and they ruin a lot of our markets. MNC's localization companies, because sometimes they come into our local market, and because we're so competitive, they have been reduced to just being a translation company rather than a localization company. This is a sad case, really. Did they raise the standards? Well, again, my answer is yes and no. Again, mostly price war. It's very sad. Sometimes our clients will move from one supplier to another just over 0.01 cents difference. It's very sad when you have serviced them so well. You bend over backwards for them, and yet they just fly over to the next company just because they offer something that is a little bit cheaper, a little bit. Did they, or any one of us, actually come together and form something that is very close to a certification? Did we form any associations in Singapore? And how about our translation process standards? Are we all taking care of that? Unfortunately, I think at this moment the answer is no. So what can be done? And I must say that these are my humble opinion. It does not represent the whole of Singapore. So don't go around telling people that Singapore does this. It is just me. Okay? I feel that we should start an association to raise some standards over here. So let's say, for example, your VATI, it is a very good example of you people coming together, working together to raise the standards so that you won't have people who are not qualified to do translation, offer translation, and spoiling our name. And I hope you will support VATI as well as the translation industry. Thank you very much.
Please stay on the stage. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Vâng, chúng ta hãy dành cho Mỹ Thần Chen một tràng pháo tay nữa với phần trình bày hết sức và thú vị và có nhiều thông tin hữu ích.
Tiếp theo chương trình, xin mời quý vị cùng đến bài tham luận 2, ngành biên phiên dịch dưới góc nhìn Thái Lan, dưới sự thể hiện của diễn giả giáo sư tiến sĩ Manidas Sawatiwat, Chủ tịch Hiệp hội Dịch thuật châu Á, Chủ tịch Hiệp hội Chính sách biên phiên dịch Thái Lan.
And now, please welcome Professor Dr. Manidas Sawatiwat, President of the Association of Asian Translation Industry, to take the stage with a presentation about translation from the viewpoint of Thailand.
I think no need to tell detail about myself. Okay, let's take a look at the map. Because in Thailand, usually we think that we are a small country. We use just only a few languages, but actually in Thailand we use more than 70 languages. Along the border we have ethnic minority languages. This is the reason why the Thai government pays a lot of attention on translation and interpretation. We have a committee for the national language policy in 2010, and then it's approved by the Thai Prime Ministers, different Thai Prime Minister. There are 6 committees under this national language policy. I think we are in advantage that the government support the language and translation strongly. The Committee of Translation, Interpretation and Sign Language Interpreting is under the 6 committees, of which I am the chair of this committee. The responsibility of the committee is to set policy, even if they know that if we are not there, then communication cannot happen. So we have to make people know more about our job, how important we can put into all kinds of communication. Not just only communication, I mean to boost economy, to make the country more stable, to become more be understandable to each other. The second one is that we have to find mechanism to drive translation in interpretation, development, professional in Thailand. The third one, we have to develop standards and quality assurance, because we know that without standard and quality translation and interpretation, we cannot compete with other countries. And we are now in the process of setting Thai standards for quality and standards quality. Actually, you see, I sit on the F43 ASTM International. If you know, ASTM International is standards of the US. And this standard, you see, is in cooperation with the ISO. We have ISO TC 37 something. I can send some information to Mr. Dimpak Tuan. Then you know that the ISO and the ASTM, which are the biggest accreditation bodies in the world, already set standards of translation interpretation. This is the table comparison logistic infrastructure. You see, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia. You see the how to say the quality of infrastructure. So it means that if any country has better infrastructure, it means that that country can be communicated easier than other countries. This is the road. This is the road. Just to take a look at that one here. It's very high technology. The road cross here and there along the borders of Laos, Myanmar, China, Cambodia, Vietnam. This will bring different communications to I mean, we don't talk about just Asia or ASEAN. We talk about Eurasia, from Europe to Asia as well. How high technology it is for the road, for the tunnel that connect each cluster together. It's the top 10 trade partner countries. When you take a look, then you see clearly which language you are going to pay more attention for translation. Because, for example, in ASEAN, we have the volume of products. So that it means that we have to pay attention on ASEAN products, and then China, Chinese, EU, whatever language is used in EU, Japan, USA, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Australia, India. So it means that these are the countries, or these are the areas that we trade with them. So if we trade with them, what does it mean? We have to pay attention on the languages used, right? And this is the economic route: Thailand, Myanmar, China. So I don't know which one should be hub, but the cluster is in this area. And cluster with excellent industrial in Thailand: electronics, automotive, food, energy. I think this one, every country has this kind of industry zone. What does it mean for Thai people? It means that we have to know terminology in electronics, automotive, food, energy, petrochemical, and rubber in order to be able to translate. And this is the corridors, east, west, central, and northeastern corridor that physically connect us together. So I come to my conclusion that if we have only physical infrastructure, ASEAN cannot work, especially AEC, ASEAN Economic. We have to pay attention on communication, on transfer from one language to another language in order to make the infrastructure feasible, workable, and more effective. So this one, you see, I got from my students. So I asked them, if you're not good at English, how to prepare yourself to work in an international company? My answer, I expected that, okay, teacher, I have to go to AUA, British Council, and all kinds of things in order to practice my English. And the answer is that if I don't know English, I think I can prepare myself by buying pretty clothes. Pretty close to be well prepared for my interview in an international company. So the answer is that, okay, let's take a look at the translation. Okay, I think that's why I worry a lot about quality of translation. This one is for ATM machine, and sometimes it happens that it is ATM. So they just put it right away. ATM got it. So this is translation, this is formal translation. And that one is Thai French fries. Everybody knows about French fries, but then they translate fry friends. Fry friends. So, and this one, the translation should be fire exit. So they translate the door flees the fly, no entry. And a lot of it. If I have time, I join the draft day. The draft day is the vocational teacher education, and Vietnam is part of this. This is the project of UNESCO.
And so today we have a special gift, special flowers for you. Và được biết là giáo sư Manirat cũng là một giảng viên của trường đại học Raja Mangala, và ngày trong tháng 11 này chúng ta có ngày dành cho các thầy cô giáo, đó là ngày 20 tháng 11. Và nhân dịp đặc biệt này thì xin trân trọng kính mời ông Đinh Khắc Tuấn, chủ tịch câu lạc bộ dịch thuật Việt Nam sẽ có bó hoa, cái món quà đặc biệt dành cho giáo sư, và lần này chúng ta sẽ gọi giáo sư là cô giáo Manirat. Và chúng ta cùng dành một tràng pháo tay để chúc mừng cho Manirat với phát biểu rất tình cờ. Hôm nay chúng ta chúc mừng giáo sư, một giảng viên của trường đại học Raja Mangala nhân tháng 11 này, có ngày 20 tháng 11. Xin cảm ơn.
Kính thưa quý vị, sau đây chúng ta sẽ đến với một bài tham luận cũng không kém phần đặc sắc và ý nghĩa. Bài tham luận ngành biên phiên dịch trước sức ép hội nhập dưới góc nhìn Việt Nam, trình bày ông Đinh Khắc Tuấn, chủ tịch câu lạc bộ biên phiên dịch Việt Nam, giám đốc điều hành công ty cổ phần Epochance toàn cầu. Xin trân trọng kính mời ông.
And now I'd like to invite Mr. Đinh Khắc Tuấn, President of Vietnam Association of Translation Industry.